All right, welcome back to Arc Salt Lake. We cover authentic, relevant, and community stories.
Okay, we spoke to the Utah side of things a little bit earlier. Scott Mitchell, former University of Utah quarterback. Now it's time to get the BYU perspective on the big game against Utah tomorrow at Lavelle Edwards Stadium.
Yeah, you know this guy, Alema Harrington. He was a running back on the BYU 1984 national title team. He's joining us now to break down how the Cougars will fare against the Utes. How you doing, Alema?
I'm doing well. Good morning. Thanks for not having me on with Scott Mitchell and bringing back all the bad memories of my senior season at BYU at Rice Stadium. My parents flew in from Hawaii for the game, and we lose, and Scott Mitchell lit us up. And a ton of respect for Scott and, of course, his college and NFL career. But I'm actually grateful that I don't have to do that face-to-face.
Well, we spared you of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, BYU obviously has done an incredible job. They are 6-0. Actually, they were 6-0 last year, too, to start things off. But your assessment of BYU this year, have they played really tough opponents? Do we really know what they're made out of?
I feel like it's almost every week we go into a game, at least after the first couple of games, with Portland State and obviously, lesser opponents, that every week it's like, okay, this is going to be the best team that BYU has faced so far. And I would say that would be an accurate assessment of what is coming up this weekend, because Utah is certainly the best team that BYU has faced to this point. And then you add to that the fact that it is a rivalry game, and that changes the dynamics of any game when you end up in a big rivalry game. But the fact that they're in the same conference, all of these things now start to play into it. And it's actually, it's fantastic for fans of BYU or the University of Utah. But to answer your question, the answer is no, they have not played the best team that they're going to play this year. And they still have Texas Tech on their schedule. BYU's schedule is tough, and it really starts right now. It started last week with Arizona. Arizona was a very good team, but Utah is by far the best team that Utah will have faced so far this year.
Alema, I want to ask you the same question I asked Scott. I was noticing a lot of national write-ups of this game coming up this weekend from national media outlets, and they were kind of evenly split in predictions about who would come out on top. What do you think is behind that split in opinion about these two ranked teams?
Well, I think, you look at the odds makers, and depending on where you're looking, Utah is the favorite. And I'm actually grateful for that. I think it serves BYU to go into this game as the underdog. You're coming off a double overtime victory on the road at Arizona. It'd be easy to be a little bit, as we use the term we use in sports, is hungover from that game, even though it was a victory. Sometimes you can have a loss that might hang with you. Sometimes you can have an emotional win that could hang with you. And for BYU, not that it's difficult to get focused for the rivalry game, but I think the fact that you are the underdog at home and you're undefeated, you're higher ranked than your opponent, all of those things lend to BYU being laser focused going into this. And so I'm not surprised that Utah is favored by 3 points in this game, 3.5 points, depending on where you look, just because BYU has not faced a team where they're going to go up against something that you'll see on Saturday against the University of Utah, which is a very good defense and offense that is effective, especially on third downs. So I actually like the fact that BYU goes in as underdogs. I think it serves the Cougars.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the quarterbacks. Both have new quarterbacks this year, but of course, Bachmeier is a true freshman, but both teams have been pretty successful with their quarterbacks.
Yeah, indeed. You got a transfer quarterback coming in for Utah. You got a true freshman for BYU, which is really an anomaly. And I played with Ty Detmer. To be able to play, even as a redshirt freshman, which Ty was, you have to be intellectually superior. You just got to be a whole different level, which Bear Bachmeier is. And the thing that I love about Bear is that he's a gamer. BYU this season, they faced their challenges. Last week is one example, but Colorado going down 14-0 on the road and then coming back and winning that game. All of these things, you got to have somebody that is your leader, that is going to kind of pave the way for your victory. And Bear Bachmeier has been that guy. And when it comes to the rivalry, which he's unfamiliar with because he's a true freshman, he's not necessarily a BYU legacy type of guy. Sometimes there's that old saying, if you know, you know. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. And sometimes it's beneficial for a freshman quarterback or anybody else that is coming into this rivalry that is not so caught up in it. They weren't born and raised here in Utah. They don't understand the dynamics of this, to be able to go into that game without all of that baggage. And to this point, Bachmeier has been nothing but impressive as a true freshman. The kid is next level. And there were a lot of question marks coming into this. Could a true freshman carry a team? The schedule would have probably, you're 4-2 or maybe you're 5-1, but to lead this team through some of the adversity that they've been through so far this year. And again, nothing like what they'll face on Saturday, but what Bear Bachmeier has done has been nothing short of impressive.
Alema, we got just under a minute left here. What makes this rivalry so great? And do you think the fans, do they sometimes take it too seriously?
Well, I think the recent arrest would indicate that, yes, they take it too seriously. And there's no place for that kind of nonsense. And I think the thing that has been beautiful about this rivalry, obviously, is, the two schools, and one founded by Brigham Young, one named after Brigham Young. And then, there's a religious aspect, which, is kind of blown out of proportion because there's just as much of an LDS presence on that Utah team as there is on the BYU team. But it's one of the storied rivalries. I think it's one of the best, if not the best rivalries in the country. And I came into it from, Hawaii, and the rivalry was BYU versus Hawaii. When I got here to Utah, I was just engrossed in this, and it's the best rivalry in college football for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons, and especially this year, is you're in the same conference again. This has conference implications, and that's part of what makes this such a great rivalry.